Okay, this is the beginning of Cosmic Fire Webinar Commentaries, number 7A. We're in a treatise on cosmic fire, and we are on page 1206, and we have been speaking of the hierarchy as the sum total of vital lives, and the substratum, or the substance of all that is, the substance of all that is, the underlying archetype, the underlying pattern, oh yes, okay, I remember now. So the underlying pattern of all that is, and we've talked about whether they are found in the cosmic ethers, or whether some of them are found in the systemic ethers, or even in the etheric subplanes of such planes as the astral plane, etheric subplanes, or the etheric subplanes of the mental plane, of which the fourth subplane is actually a member. And that will still have to be worked out. We might regard the subject as follows, says DK. The four superior groups are the hierarchies expressing themselves through the three cosmic ethers: the second, the third, and the fourth, the four superior groups. So, well, let's see, what about the first cosmic ether and the divine lives? Or do the divine lives express through the second cosmic ether, as do the greater builders, the triads, or triple flowers, expressing through the third cosmic ether, and the human, the initiates, or human creative hierarchy, through the fourth cosmic ether. Right. So, not sure why he says only through the second, third, and fourth, because we do seem to have some kind of expression for the divine lives operating on the first cosmic ether or Logos plane. The two lowest groups, let's see, make this a little bigger, are the lives which are found functioning as involutionary matter, organized and unorganized, of the logoic dense physical body, the liquid and gaseous, with the living substance of the four higher subplanes of the systemic dense physical body. I suppose this means we call these the systemic ethers. These lives will have their archetypal cause on the systemic ethers, it seems. So let's take a look here at, okay, this is the fastest way to do it. Yes. So these two lower groups seem to have a place on the systemic ethers. These four have their place on the cosmic ethers. Now let's see further. The two lower groups of lives are the lives which are found functioning as involutionary matter, and this means also that the lunar lords are involutionary matter, but they also are on the way to becoming man. So that has to be realized. Organized and unorganized. And let's just say that maybe organization relates to the 6th creative hierarchy, and lack of organization into form to the 7th creative hierarchy. So they are the influsionary matter of the logoic dense physical body, liquid and gaseous. Okay, liquid is the systemic astral plane, and gaseous is the, well, let's see. In a way, let's see, the gaseous plane is the systemic mental body. And the dense aspect has to do with our normal systemic etheric physical plane. With the living substance of the 4 higher subplanes of the systemic dense physical body. With the living substance. So let's read that again. The 2 lowest groups of the lives which are found functioning as the involutionary matter, organized and unorganized, of the logoic dense physical body, which this is the 3 lower worlds, or our 3 lower worlds. The liquid, this is the logoic dense physical body, the liquid and gaseous. Well, liquid and gaseous are also part of the dense physical body, but let's see, I think what he means to say here is that they're found in the logoic dense physical body, the liquid, and the gaseous. So the systemic, what do we have here? Our lower 3 worlds, very dense. Okay, worlds. Our lower 3 worlds, and here we go. Whoop, no. 1, 2. I think this is the problem. Very dense. Liquid, which is astral, and gaseous, which is mental. All right. With the living substance of the 4 higher subplanes of the systemic, or with or within the living substance, with the living substance of the 4 higher subplanes, okay, in other words, the ethers are included. The systemic ethers. We see here that the systemic ethers are included. So we have the dense, which are really the systemic gaseous, liquid, and physical. And then we have the liquid, which is astral, and the mental, which is gaseous. In other words, the liquid aspect of the dense body, of the physical body, the liquid aspect of the physical body of the solar logos is our astral plane. The gaseous aspect of the dense, of the physical body of our solar logos is our systemic mental plane. And the 4 higher subplanes of the systemic dense physical body are the ethers, what we call the systemic ethers. So they are found functioning as involutionary matter of the lowest, of the logoic dense physical body, the liquid, the gaseous, etc. Now, where exactly are they located? Are they located somehow? Are these are the main springs of these creative hierarchies located on the etheric levels of each of these planes in the physical body of the solar logos. The fifth hierarchy has an interesting position as the mediating body between the higher four and those which are found on the lower three subplanes. Now, and this is subplanes of the cosmic physical plane. In other words, mental, emotional, and etheric physical. There is a vital and significant correspondence to be found between the 7 head centers and the 7 groups of egos on the mental plane. And there is an occult analogy between the 3 head centers, pineal gland, pituitary body, and the alto major centers, and the expression of these 7 groups of egos in the 3 worlds. This is a most important esoteric fact, and all students of meditation upon the laws of at-one-ment must take this analogy into consideration. I remember pausing here and finding that it was a difficult statement as well as important. Okay. I'm not sure that it's going to be possible to solve this at the moment, but I'm thinking of the 7 head centers, which are, I think, found within the ethers of the head. And if this has to do with our planetary logos, then the 7 groups of egos on the mental plane are, in a way, in within the ethers from the point of view of the planetary logos. There's kind of a Vulcanian connection here, because the 7 head centers are master control centers and are ruled by the first-ray planet Vulcan, and the 7 groups of egos have some kind of control as well. Now, they are found on the higher mental plane, not on the lower mental plane. So that has to be established, found on the higher mental plane. And they are controlling of the glands which are found in the physical body, not the etheric body of the planetary logos. I think we're talking about the planetary logos here, maybe the solar logos too. So the occult analogy, we have 3 head centers, and we have some glands as well. Let's see. The pineal gland, the pituitary body, these are definitely glands, and they would be found within the physical body. Now, if they're found in the physical body of the planetary logos, for instance, these glands have a mineral part, a liquid part, and maybe they are pervaded by some sort of gaseous quality. Whatever may be their correspondence, they will be found in the physical body of the solar logos, and they will be controlled from the higher mental plane, which in a way serves as kind of an etheric basis for the planetary logos. Remember, I've been wondering, and I don't want to impose my idea here, but I've been wondering whether when you think about the head centers, whether they would be found, they're found here in something called the ether, and I think they're probably found on the first subplane. So would they be found in a way on the first subplane of the mental vehicle? In other words, these groups of egos, will they be found on the second or be found on the first? The second seems to belong to the heart. Well, it depends on whether we're talking about the planetary logos or the solar logos, I think. But anyway, let's make it general and say that these groups are found here on the higher mental plane. Maybe they're found in different places, but the head centers pretty well have to do with the first subplane, because it says head. Now, you know, there are a lot of head centers. There's the head center, there's the ajna center, there's the 7 head centers. Maybe they're all found on the first subplane, and the egoic groups are found there as well. But when it comes to the pineal gland, the pituitary body, and the alpha major body, not necessarily the etheric center, which would be the carotid gland, I suppose, these glands are going to be found in the physical body of the Solar Logos. They have a dense part, they have a systemic etheric part, they have liquid running through them, and I suppose they have possibly pervaded by gases. So they are going to be found on these three lower levels, and perhaps involving aspects of all of these lower planes. When you look at our own glands, they're not just dry and mineral in nature. They have a living liquid aspect to them, and maybe as well vital airs are passing through them, or some sort of gaseous aspect passing through them as well. And thus it would be for the planetary logos, or perhaps we're looking at the solar logos. I cannot really differentiate between the two at the moment. So there is a cult analogy between the three head centers, which are concrete in a way in the human being. They are, of the dense liquid and gaseous substance, overshadowed in a way by the 7 head centers, which are etheric. So the 7 head centers are in a way working through the pineal, pituitary, and alpha major centers, or let's call it, because 2 of these are dense, the pineal gland and the pituitary body are dense, and let's equalize all this and say that the alpha major dense center, or the gland corresponding to the alpha major, are affected by the 7 head centers ruled by Vulcan, and probably on the first etheric plane, which we call the atomic etheric plane. And these 7 work through the 3. It's 7 in this case above the 3. Oftentimes we have 3 above the 7. And then if you deal with maybe what's called the planetary logos, let's say, these 7 head centers are going to be on the first subplane of the mental plane, and they're going to work out in what is for him his physical body, which is in the lower 18 subplanes. So, well, actually, it's got to be for the planetary logos, then it's the lower 18 subplanes. So let me try to say something about this. The planetary logos has for his physical body the lower 18 subplanes. And the 7 head centers are going to be found for him on the first level of the, or the first subplane of the systemic mental plane. And they will affect these 3 glands found in his physical body. Now, going to the human being, we have the 7 head centers, which are Vulcanian. I've come to the conclusion. Master centers found on the systemic atomic etheric subplane. Systemic atomic etheric subplane. And just to, here it is, this one, where it says atomic head. And I think the 7 head centers will be found there. I think all the head centers will be found there on the different subplanes. I can't say which, but maybe according to rays, there are subplanes, and maybe the one conforming to the first ray will be on the first subplane, to the second ray the second subplane, the third ray the third subplane, and all the rest on the fourth subplane, which is the etheric portion of this tiny subplane. I hope that's clear. We really got 343 divisions on this cosmic physical plane, and Even right here, where it looks like there's 7 divisions, but there's really 49, and 7 of them are here, and there's an etheric portion here. So maybe we can find the highest head center on the first sub-subplane, the absent center on the second sub-subplane. Not sure about where to put the 7 centers, but maybe not as high as the major head center, but to put them on the maybe second sub-subplane, and that would fit with Vulcan, because Vulcan is related to the heart of the sun, and it's a directing planet, but also related to the second ray, heart of the sun. And then the Alta Major center would be found for the human being on the third sub-subplane, and all the other head centers correlated with the 4, 5, 6, and 7, seventh rays, or correlated with lesser chakras, would be found on the fourth sub-subplane, but all of them really found on the atomic subplane. I hope that's, clear as mud here. I hope that's clear. So going to the human being, we have 7 head centers. I've just talked about this, which are Vulcanian master centers found on the systemic, atomic, etheric subplane, and probably on the various 7-fold divisions of that subplane. In other words, on sub-subplanes. Sub-subplanes. Okay. And these 7 will control 7 above the 3 will control the glands, which are found in the head on the dense etheric, no, on the dense liquid and gaseous subplanes. In other words, here, the dense, the liquid, and the gaseous subplanes, the glands will be found here, and the control will come from here. Just the way the glands for the solar planetary logos will be found here, and the control will come from here. And at least that's the best I can do with the analogy at the moment. I remember pausing there and saying, oh, this is difficult, the first time we looked at it. But he says it's a compelling, or what does he say, significant correspondence, vital. Vital, of course, vital is one of those words. When he uses the word vital, he's using a location. He's saying the vital body. He's talking about vital body when he uses the word vital. To be found between the 7 head centers and the 7 groups of egos on the mental plane. So the 7 groups of egos on the higher mental plane are found, I think, if they're correspondences to head centers, they may be found on the highest level of the higher mental plane, and on a number of subdivisions. These groups of egos can be found on sub-subplanes. So I want to say that the groups of egos can be found on subplanes of the higher mental plane. And they are and they are controlling the glands, which are found in the physical body of the planetary logos. All right, so that's actually quite I feel I did a little better with that than I did when going through esoteric astrology, but who knows? Larger aggregations correspond to smaller aggregations. Larger aggregations in the planetary logos correspond to smaller aggregations. But there are also groups of egos with respect to the solar logos who are found here on the Buddhic level. See, for the planetary logos, they can be found on the mental level, but for the solar logos, they would be found on the Buddhic level, and perhaps on different subplanes of the Buddhic plane. especially if we're talking about, if we're talking about head centers. If we're talking about groups of egos that are not head centers, they could be found maybe on all of the four subplanes or even on the four higher subplanes of the Buddhic plane. But if they're head centers, see, the etheric part of this cosmic ether, the etheric part of it is the four higher subplanes, and different kinds of centers or groupings of spiritual triads would be found on these four levels according to the function of the centers that they represent. If they're head centers, they're found up here, I suppose. Of course, we do have a bit of a problem because the problem is that the two higher subplanes of the Buddhic plane are very occult and pertain to cities or powers which are beyond those of a master. So maybe we will have to make a modification here as to where these groupings of triads are found. But I think, in a way they should not be found in the lower three sublevels because although this is a cosmic ether, it corresponds to the densest level of the cosmic ether. But then, we cannot assume here. Maybe because it is a cosmic ether, you can have groupings on any of the levels, and we don't have to work with this idea that only the four above will hold the chakras. Maybe once we get into the cosmic ethers, maybe other subplanes can hold these groupings of triads, which are as the chakras. Now, there's a hint, a little hint. Maybe it's not a little hint, maybe it's a big hint, and it's on page 39. By now I know that. So on the Buddhic, well, now I'll tell you what, we can go all the way to the first subplane. There are 21 groups up there of triads. And there are 28 groups on the third subplane. What about the second subplane? Is there any compromise position between them, like the number 25, for instance? But I think we have to proceed pretty well by sevens. We don't know why the second subplane is left out. The second subplane of the Buddhic plane and the first are very occult. And, he says the cities appropriate to them extend to those who are beyond the level of master. Maybe Chohans of the 6th degree and Chohans of the 7th degree. When we get to the Atmic plane, there are groupings on the atomic subplane. And we have, again, subtracted 7. Again, we subtract 7, and we go to the monadic plane, and we have 7 great groups, but we don't know on what subplanes of the monadic plane they are found. Maybe, they are found only, again, maybe only on the upper 4, which corresponds to the ethers. If a group corresponds to a chakra, and you use the analogy, you think, well, look, that chakra just cannot occur in the lower 3 subplanes. It's got to occur on the upper 4 because the upper 4 are the etheric levels of any particular sevenfold plane. All right. It is useful to remember the place of these hierarchies in the scheme. Not just the planetary scheme, but the larger scheme, the larger scheme of things, as it were. And to realize that upon the sum total of these vital bodies, he makes a big deal about this, that they are life. And they tell us something about the connection of the monad of whatever kind with life and with vitality, i.e., the monadic etheric connection. So everything is vital. Even if the bodies through which these hierarchies manifest turn out to be involutionary matter, there is a kind of a vital sustainment. I actually want to write that down, that even if the vehicles through which these hierarchies manifest, maybe they should be capital H, manifest are involutionary. The sustainment of these vehicles is vital and will come from some etheric plane, etheric division of some plane. Whether that's going to be the etheric of the dense physical, or the etheric of the systemic physical, the etheric of the systemic astral, or the etheric of the systemic mental. I've sometimes kind of wondered, where does the sustainment come for the lower parts of the fifth creative hierarchy? Where does the vital sustainment come from the lower parts of the fifth creative hierarchy? My impression for the higher parts is that it comes from the cosmic astral plane, but not for the lower parts, the lower Agnishvatas, which are really mental elementals. Okay, mental elementals. So, is it possible that a creative hierarchy could have two different locations for the kinds of monads which compose it? I mean, I'm sure this is all part of the mystery, and I bet it's related to cosmic evil here and to some kind of difficulty and adjustment between the second aspect and the third aspect, and we can probably trace it back somehow to the Great Bear and Mithar, the second ray star, and Alioth, the third ray star, apparently out of adjustment. So anyway, the idea to keep in mind is that these creative hierarchies are the vital forms. Okay, the creative hierarchies are the vital forms on which the denser forms are built, and by which these denser forms are sustained. That's what I would keep in mind. Is like, where are the monads located? The monads, because everything is a monad, has a monad. Where are the monads of the lower part of the fifth creative hierarchy located? Are they somehow on the monadic level of the cosmic physical plane? In a way, they came from the moon. They are somehow lunar substance or substance from the previous solar system. Where are those monads found? Are they found on the monadic plane? That is a question. And if found on the monadic plane, where are the... Okay. Which were the... I'm going to just look at this denser forms. Okay. So, where are the monads of the sixth creative hierarchy and seventh creative hierarchy found? On the monadic plane of the cosmic physical plane? And if so, on what level? I mean, it's possible, to have maybe monads found on any of the four etheric levels. Monads are vital in a way. If they're found on the monadic plane of men, the monads of current men are found on high subplanes. But can that's an idea, can the monads of those beings which will become men be found on lower subplanes of the monadic plane of the cosmic physical plane? Well, one day this tremendous puzzle will be revealed to us. I've looked at some people who can do these Rubik's Cubes in just a few, so it seems, just a few seconds. What kind of intelligence is that? But, this whole thing here is a big Rubik's Cube of a metaphysical kind, and it's taking lifetimes to solve it, But we're on our way here. So it's useful to remember the place of these hierarchies in the scheme and to realize that upon the sum total of these vital bodies, that let's just say that creative hierarchies are like vital bodies. Are like vital bodies. A sum total of these vital bodies is gradually gathered the dense manifestation which we regard as the evolutionary matter, or at least matter in the form of those beings who are evolving. Maybe that's what it means. Matter in the tangible forms of those beings who are evolving. The forms are built from the form of all atoms to the body of the ego, from the form of a flower to the vast planetary or solar lotus, because the hierarchies exist as an aggregate of germ lives. Germ lives, well, a germ, let's say a germ is a vital something which causes aggregation, multiplication, form, giving the impulse, providing the model. That's the etheric model, right? The etheric model, and procuring through their very existence the entire raison d'etre of all that is seen on the planes. Well, what do we get the idea here? If we want to really summarize this, because maybe it's going to be hard to remember all the details, but that creative hierarchies are, well, they are collections of monads, but work in connection with vitality. And this vitality gathers denser forms through which the creative hierarchies work as vehicles. Something of that nature. All these lives are interpenetrating, and the lesser creative hierarchies are somehow sponsoring or sustaining the vehicles through which the greater creative hierarchies work, and so forth. I mean, some of our greatest creative hierarchies may be just tiny elemental lives compared with still greater cosmic creative hierarchies, and on it goes. There's just an amazing structure to this cosmos. You kind of wonder, though, why you have to rediscover it in every solar system. But the only thing I can think of is that you do and you don't. I mean, we seem to be rediscovering it after an infinitude of sequential universes, which itself is a problem, non-traversable, as Aristotle said. But at the same time, we don't have to discover it, because we are the very life that is the ruler of the deep. And our emanations, some of them perceive the ruler of the deep. In other words, we perceive ourselves. Then we emanate lower, and we don't perceive ourselves, but somehow we do remain above it all while being in it all. And that's the great contradiction. It's kind of like in the world yet not of the world. There's a part of us that is forever not of the world, and a part of us that is forever, well, not forever, but for a long time in the world until we are retracted along the line of our emanative extension, if I can use those words. Okay. Hierarchies 6 and 7. Maybe he doesn't say so much about these. The 6th and 7th hierarchies, now you want to look at them, of course. The lunar lords, their numbers are 6 and 11. They're called the sacrificial fires from Cosmic Fire 378. Sagittarius is the root. It's a little bit out of order here. There's some problem here. The Sagittarius coming between Capricorn and Aquarius, this is a temporary emphasis and will change in another world cycle. This is one of the mysteries revealed at initiation. I kind of wonder whether it has again to do with the intervention of the solar angels. Normally they would be Capricorn, Sagittarius would have to do with the mental plane, and Capricorn with the astral plane, if things were in the right order. And of Capricorn we read that it is the one that crosses the water. It's the head of the goat and the tail of the fish, navigating the waters of space. But anyway, we're here with the lunar lords. It's hierarchy 6, ruled by Sagittarius. Hierarchical ruler is Mars. Color is red for Mars. Kundalini Shakti, energy of matter form. It's, I suppose, the etheric energy within matter form. It's also a water plane, interestingly enough, connected, I suppose, with Atma, in some sense. Atma has different numbers, but it's called water, water of the higher kind. And the elemental lives, the blinded lives, the baskets of nourishment, the truly tiny elemental lives. And I suppose when we talk about elemental essence, we're talking about these lives. Are they yet aggregated? Are they yet built into form? Not necessarily. Aquarius rules them. The planet is the moon, probably veiling Uranus, but, you know, they could veil Vulcan as well, except Uranus is the violet planet. They're a form of electrical energy, low form. There's no, it says there's no energy here. There's no Shakti. And the comment is that it's related specifically to the earth plane. And then it also tells us the 5 hierarchies who are have achieved liberation are not inactive. They're really active on the higher planes, but not on the lower planes. That's something for us to bear in mind. So a little bit is said here. Hierarchies 6 and 7, these 6th and 7th hierarchies, which provide the substance forms of the 3 worlds, have a vital use and a most interesting place. They provide the substance forms, you know, the, I suppose the dense forms, the relatively dense forms, through which there is expression in the lower 3 worlds, lower worlds. They have a vital, every time that word vital, you know, it's like the alarm goes off. DK is pointing to something etheric whenever he says the word vital. From the logoic standpoint, they are not regarded as providing principles at all. Well, in a way, nothing in the physical body of the solar logos is a principle. So nothing in the physical body of the solar logos is a principle, and same for the planetary logos. But from the standpoint of man, they do provide him with his lowest principles. Some of these are considered to be like, well, maybe Manas. although that might touch on the lower part of the higher creative hierarchy, the fifth. But this might touch on the lower part of the higher creative hierarchy, the fifth. But at least a kama and sometimes a prana is considered a principle for man, and even the etheric body. Rarely is the dense physical body considered a principle, but we do have sometimes, let me get that straight, a listing, from around 257 to 270 or so, somewhere there, of the cosmic fire. We do have these listings of the different sets of principles, and in one of the listings, maybe related more to the previous solar system, the dense physical body is considered one of the principles. But let's just say that anything directly associated with the dense body, or with the physical body of the solar logos, is not a principle. And so there's going to be a difference between these lower non-principles of the planetary logos and the lower non-principles of the solar logos. Sometimes the causal body is considered a principle, or that kind of higher manus, and it wouldn't be. Let's see, what we call higher manus would not be a principle for the planetary, for the solar logos, but it might well be a principle for the planetary logos. Sometime I'll be able to work out that difference between these two types of being. They hold the same relation to the logos as the dense physical body does to man. And we are talking about the logos here. And what about the lower part of creative hierarchy 5? This, they seem to be part of the physical body of the solar logos. Maybe what we have for hierarchy 5 in its higher brackets is just a fall and a sacrifice, and that really, if you look at their higher principles, if you look at their higher placement, they are part of the principles of the solar logos. Of course, the interesting thing is we have to tie this in with the information that, this must be tied in with the information that the solar logos has only one permanent atom on the cosmic physical plane. And generally the permanent atoms generate the vehicles through which principles express. So, how many principles are actually expressing on the cosmic physical plane if there's only one permanent atom? If you think about it, the human being analogy has a permanent atom on the atomic level of the etheric plane. Let's go to that. Has a permanent atom here, and that permanent atom will relate to two lower principles only. And I've often wondered why the etheric body should be called a principle at all. It's prana and the etheric body. That's the only principle or principles that the human being will have in relation to that permanent atom. So if the solar logos has only one permanent atom, maybe all we're going to have is prana, cosmic prana, and cosmic ether, if we can justify calling the etheric body a principle. So maybe the solar logos has only one or two principles expressing on the cosmic physical plane, namely cosmic prana and the cosmic etheric body. All right, I think I want a cosmic etheric body. That's how it is. I didn't use the word S. Okay, so this holds the same relation to the logos as the dense physical body does to man. There are some overlap areas here which are not easy to explain, and all that concerns the evolution of man must, in this particular place, be studied as going on within the physical logoic vehicle, that is, the lower 21 subplanes, right? When we talk about the physical body of the planetary logos, then it's another thing, and it's the 18 lower subplanes. Physical body of the planetary logos consists of the 18 lower subplanes. They deal with the display of physical energy and with the working out in the physical vehicle of all divine purposes, and with the physical organization of a certain great cosmic life. And what is that, really, that great cosmic life? Is this the Solar Logos? Are we talking about that? Is this cosmic life the Solar Logos, or some Raja Deva lords? They are, in some ways, well, maybe they're more systemic. There are Rajadeva lords. There are Rajadeva lords which are cosmic, but they ensoul the cosmic planes. Okay, so we're dealing with the dense physical manifestation of man, and some of these lower hierarchies can be tied in with his the principles that are found in his personality. I mean, lower Manas might be connected here because lunar lords are connected with lower Manas, and lunar lords are part of the two lowest, the second to the lowest creative hierarchy. But they still are vital in a way. This is a difficult paragraph. The substance forms, the substanding forms of the three worlds. The substance forms of the three worlds have a vital use and most interesting place. These may also be called, I'll use the word, substanding forms, which are not densely physical, though their expression is. Physical. From the logoic standpoint, they are not regarded as providing principles at all. Well, really, like I said, there are not many principles sold logoically on the cosmic physical plane. The planetary logoi have two permanent atoms, and I suppose the second permanent atom has to be an astral permanent atom, which is kind of interesting because then the sea of fire would represent a kind of astral area, and the monadic level kind of an etheric area, a dense area, or a physical area. Well, I have to work that out. Where permanent atoms appear, principles are found, and we're told, that some of the planets provide for the planetary logos a correspondence to permanent atoms, and some are only temporary homes for principles, and not permanent homes for principles. Wherever a permanent atom is found, a principle will be involved. Look at your own setup, your physical permanent atom. We've got two principles usually named, prana and etheric body. The astral permanent atom, that principle is kama. The mental unit, the principle is lower manas. And then if you combine the mental unit and the astral permanent atom in some way, you've got kama manas, which is sometimes called a principle. Um, we have the monastic permanent atom, and the principle in general is manus, or higher manus. It can apply to the three higher mental planes, but it seems to have a focus on the highest of the subplanes. I meant subplanes. Highest subplane of the mental plane. Then you have the buddhic permanent atom, the principle is buddhi. You have the atmic permanent atom, the principle is atma. There's an atmic vehicle, a principle, and a permanent atom. Three things go together. Three things go together: the buddhic permanent atom, the buddhic vehicle, and the buddhic principle of buddhi, and so it goes. There's a vehicle, a permanent atom, and a principle. The principle is actually a qualitative aspect of the monad. So these lower creative hierarchies, they are quite substantial. They are non-principled from the point of view of the logos. The two of them are, and even I would suggest that the lower part of hierarchy 5 are non-principled when it relates to the logos, but the higher part not. But when it comes to man, they can provide his principles. Particularly is this so when we view the two hierarchies under consideration. They are the lowest residue of the previous system, but maybe not the only residue. We are told that the hierarchy 4 and even maybe part of hierarchy 5 had not completed its relationship with the energy forces of the previous solar system. Well, anyway, hierarchies 6 and 7 are the lowest residue of the previous system, and the energy of that matter, liquid, gaseous, and dense, which the vibration of the logoic permanent atom on the plane Adi attracts to itself in the building of the divine form. Okay, so the physical permanent atom on the logoic plane, or plane of Adi, of Adi, attracts to itself the matter of the physical body of the solar logos found on the lower three systemic planes. Okay, we're getting the picture. For purposes of clarification and of generalization, it might be noted that the seventh hierarchy is the life or energy found at the heart of every atom in its positive aspect. So this is maybe to say before aggregation into forms. I mean, it's alive, but undirected, except by the life of the third logos, I guess, sort of directed by the third person of the logoic trinity. Oop, and I'll just change that to third. Third person. Well, time for an abbreviation. Third person of the logoic trinity, and third. You know what I'm going to do here, don't you? Person of the, I wish I could type better, logoic trinity. That's one. Third person of the logoic trinity. And then the next one is the second person of the logoic trinity. Yes, I have to have them all. Second person of the logoic trinity. And then finally, you know, it's inevitable, right? First person of the logoic trinity. First person of the logoic trinity. And we'll make that first person of the logoic trinity. Now, I hope there's an occasion to use those abbreviations. And the sixth hierarchy is the life of the forms of all the etheric bodies of every tangible object. Now, this may not mean only so-called inanimate object, because all physical bodies are tangible objects. They can be touched, with the normal senses. They can be touched with the normal sense of touch. So the body of the animal, the body of the plant, the body of the human being, the body of the mineral, all the bodies of the lower three kingdoms, lower kingdoms, are tangible objects. And so they are the life of the forms. See, there is a difference between the life of the atoms, and the life of those aggregations of atoms we call forms. So when we aggregate a number of atoms in a form, and these forms are generally lunar forms, providing vehicles for the lower kingdoms, then this sixth creative hierarchy is the life of the forms. I think what's coming through for me is realizing how etheric these creative hierarchies really are, and how we have to link monadic life with vital etheric life. I think that's clear. So the function of this hierarchy is well described in the words of the old commentary, but I think the thing to do is to be careful and yes, notice that we're at the end. And so the end of Cosmic Fire Webinar Commentaries 7A, page 1207, and beginning of Cosmic Fire Webinar Commentaries 7B, page 1207.